Hey guys, my name is Eric Rodriguez and today I'll be going over some Adobe Premiere Pro basics. Premiere Pro is Adobe's video editing program. It's good for video editing no matter what your skill level is, if you're a beginner or a professional. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to head over to New Project. And from here you can go ahead and give your project a title. I'll just go ahead and name my tutorial for now. If you hit browse, you'll see that we can choose where our project is going to be saved. So we're just going to go ahead and put that on our desktop. And now we're going to hit OK. And as you can see, we're greeted with a whole lot of different panels and workspaces. For today, we're just going to be focusing on the editing workspace. You can find that up here. And to get started, we're going to go ahead and bring up our footage. And now what we can do is just simply select all of these and drag and drop them into the project panel. And now you'll see that all of our videos are in here in the project panel. Now to make this easier on ourselves, we're going to go ahead and rename these. So for starters, we're going to double click on one of the videos. And as you can see up in the source panel, we can actually see what our video contains. And you can just use this little cursor here to move ahead and back in the video. So let's say we want to rename this video. We're going to go ahead and double click on the name. And we're going to title this Rooftop Shot. We'll go in and do that for all the rest of our videos. So now that we've got our footage renamed, we can actually go ahead and organize this even further. If you go down to the bottom right corner, you'll see that there's a button for a new bin. We'll go ahead and create that and rename it Rooftop. And now we can go ahead and select all the rooftop footage and drag it into the rooftop bin where it will now sit. And we'll do that for the indoor footage as well. So now to move our footage onto the timeline, which will be where we will actually construct our video, all it is a matter of dragging and dropping from the project panel to the timeline panel. So we're going to go ahead and drag and drop this footage into the timeline. So now that the footage is in the timeline, we can go ahead and click L to play the video, and you'll see that it's playing in the program panel, which displays what is going on in our timeline. So we can drag this cursor, and as it moves throughout the timeline, you'll notice that the program panel reflects what is being shown from the timeline. And just as a reminder, you'll want to be saving frequently by hitting Command S on Mac or Control S on Windows. So now that I have my footage onto the timeline, let's say that I only want this video to end up until right after this ollie here. Now to make that happen, I can go to the point where I want this shot to end. And we're going to bring up the razor tool by selecting it over here from the toolbar, or alternatively, we can click C on the keyboard. Now we're going to go to the part where we want to cut this video, which would be right here, and we're just going to click. Now, as you can see, it's created a cut in the video. So now we're going to select the second half, and we can just go ahead and hit delete on the keyboard to get rid of that. Now, instead of having to do that every time we want to bring in footage onto the timeline, alternatively, we can go to a video we want to drag onto the timeline, and we can double click on it to bring it up into the source panel. And now from here, we can go to the point that we want our video to start at, which I'll say right here. And now what I'm going to do is hit I on the keyboard, which stands for in. And now I'll go down to the part where I'd like this clip or shot to end. And I'll hit O, which means out. So now on the timeline, we'll go to the end of our first shot, which is where we want the second shot to come in. And you can use the arrow keys to go frame by frame just to find the last spot. And now we're going to go ahead and hit insert on the source panel. And as you can see, our second shot is now on our timeline. Keep in mind that it's also possible to use one footage for several different ins and outs. So let's say I want this part right here. I'll just go ahead and create another in, make another out, and I can go ahead and insert that onto the timeline as well. So we'll go ahead and do that with the rest of our footage. So you'll notice that we constructed the rest of our shots a little further down ahead into the timeline. Now to have these match up with the rest of our shots, we can go ahead and drag them. Or alternatively, we can use the ripple edit tool And the keyboard shortcut for that is B. And we can just go ahead and drag this empty space. And that will go ahead and move the footage over all at once. Now keep in mind that once you select the tools, to go back to our regular selection tool, you can either select it on the toolbar or we can hit V on the keyboard. And that'll just make it so we can go back to actually selecting bits of footage and such. To review our footage, we can go to the beginning of our video in the timeline, and we can hit L to start playback. We can hit L again to play at twice the speed, and so forth and so on. We can keep on ramping up the speed. If we want to pause at any point in our playback, we can hit K, and to go backwards, we can hit J, and the same ramping up effect works as well. And now that we're happy with how we've spliced our footage and how it's turned out, to go ahead and turn this into an MP4 that we can use, we'll go ahead up into File, and we'll go down to Export and Export Media. Now, as you can see, the second rather confusing window pops up, and for the sake of simplicity, we're only going to go over the essential settings that you need to get your video rendered. So you want to make sure that export video and export audio are both checked if you want both your video and your audio to be rendered. Now, under output name, we can click into here. From here, we can go ahead and select the name of what our file will be once it's rendered, and we can actually choose where it's going to be saved as well. Now, once we're ready, we can go ahead and hit Q. And Media Encoder will open. And as you'll see, our video will be here in the Q panel. And once you're ready, you can hit this play button or hit return to start rendering. And now you'll notice that there's an MP4 file wherever you chose to save your video in. Thank you for watching our tutorial. For more tutorials, head over to adobe.arizona.edu.